So, you've tried reselling but found out that there's actually a lot of work around reselling and that it can be pretty exhausting. But deep down you know that there are ways to make most of the processes easier or even faster. But also, you have that little voice in the back of your mind that's telling you that using shortcuts is cheating. In this video, I'm going to show you how can AI make your reselling much better. You might be thinking right now that it probably won't make such a difference and that you will just continue not using AI. But 6 months from now, imagine how much you could improve by yourself. Without using AI, you're probably making more money than you're making at this moment. But imagine how much you could possibly improve with using AI and try to imagine to what level you could possibly take your reselling journey. As someone who has been using AI to help me with reselling, I think I can give you some quality advice that will be of use to you. Hello, I'm Dan and I am using reselling just to make some extra money. Also, I spent some time to experiment with AI and I have been using it for a few months now. Let's get into the video. In this video, I'm going to talk mostly about Vinted, but I think you can use these tips for other platforms as well. So when you're writing a title for your listings, you probably spend a few minutes trying to figure out what words should you use there so the listing will be successful. And as I was talking about using AI, you might be saying to yourself that you will just keep doing it yourself because you simply feel better if you come up with all those words yourself. But here's the truth. If effort you put into something would equal the outcome, the work would look different. Don't you think? We often feel bad if we use shortcuts or make our job easier, but when you think about it more into depth, you realize that there is nothing wrong with wanting to have a better outcome for less work. And if you're going to text AI to show you, let's say, 5 varieties of how the title could look like, you could realize that you wouldn't even come up with all those words yourself. And one thing to know about titles of your listings: make them as long as possible. Use all the space that can be used because the more words you use, the higher the chance that someone will find your listing and you will sell your product. Listing your product brings us also to using hashtags. The whole listing description can have up to 2,000 symbols with spaces, which means that you have about 1,850 symbols to use for hashtags, which is a lot. Many people, when they're listing their items, they just use few hashtags and that is on a good day. Most people don't even use them at all, but that way they're literally losing money. I want you to go wild with hashtags. Go to ChatGPT and write it to give you hashtags for your product and do it about 1,800 symbols long, and trust me, you will see the difference. Your listings will do much better and will have more views than they have now. Using AI to communicate with buyers on Vinted. One of the most underrated ways to use AI on Vinted is actually not for writing listings, but for communicating with buyers. We've all been there. Someone asks for measurements, wants a discount, or sends a message that's difficult to respond to. Instead of spending several minutes trying to find the right words, you can use AI to generate a friendly, clear, and professional reply in seconds. AI can be especially helpful when dealing with disputes or misunderstandings. Maybe a buyer isn't happy with the condition of an item, a package is delayed, or there's a disagreement about the listing. In situations like these, emotions can easily take over, and sending a message too quickly can make things worse. By asking AI to rewrite your response, you can turn a frustrated or rushed message into one that sounds calm, respectful, and solution-oriented. A professional tone often helps de-escalate the situation and shows the buyer that you're taking their concern seriously. That being said, I wouldn't recommend copying and pasting every AI-generated message without making any changes. Buyers appreciate authenticity, and conversations that sound too robotic can feel impersonal and less trustworthy. The best approach is to use AI as an assistant rather than a replacement. Let it organize your thoughts, improve your wording, fix grammar, or help you explain a situation more clearly. Then add your own personal touch before sending the message. This way you get the best of both worlds: faster communication, more professional responses, and a better chance of leaving buyers with a positive impression, even when something goes wrong. And on a platform like Vinted, where good reviews and trust are incredibly important, that small advantage can make a big difference. Using AI to automatically repost your Vinted listings. One of the most practical ways to use AI on Vinted is by automating one of the most repetitive tasks, reposting your listings. If you've sold on Vinted before, you probably know that newly uploaded items usually receive the most attention. They appear higher in search results, get more views, and have a much better chance of selling. As days pass, however, they slowly move down the feed and become harder for buyers to discover. That's why many sellers choose to repost their items every few days. The problem is that doing this manually can take a lot of time, especially if you have dozens or even hundreds of listings. This is where AI and automation tools come in. There are several websites and services that can automatically repost your listings on a schedule, keeping them visible without requiring you to spend hours clicking through the same process over and over again. Instead of your item disappearing into thousands of older listings, it gets another chance to reach new buyers. But does that mean everyone should automate their account? Not necessarily. Some sellers actually prefer doing everything manually. By reposting items themselves, they can update the photos, improve the description, adjust the price, or add new keywords that might attract different buyers. It also gives them a chance to review each listing and decide whether it's still worth selling or if it needs changes. For smaller Vinted accounts with only a few items, manual reposting might only take a couple of minutes and gives the seller complete control over every listing. The best approach depends on your goals. If you're managing a large inventory, automation can save an incredible amount of time and keep your products consistently visible. But if you only sell occasionally or enjoy optimizing each listing by hand, doing it manually can be just as effective. So here are my final thoughts. Is AI worth using on Vinted? After looking at all these different ways to use AI on Vinted, one thing becomes pretty clear. AI is a tool, not a magic solution. On one hand, it can save an incredible amount of time. It can help you write better titles, create more professional messages, assist with customer support, and even automate repetitive tasks like reposting listings. If you're selling a lot of items, those small improvements can add up and make managing your account much more efficient. On the other hand, relying too heavily on AI can also have its downsides. Generic descriptions, copy and paste replies, or complete automation can make your account feel less personal. And buyers will feel that. Buyers appreciate honesty, quick communication, and the feeling that there's a real person behind the profile. Sometimes that personal touch is exactly what turns a viewer into a customer. That's why I think the best strategy is to find a balance. Let AI handle the repetitive and time-consuming tasks, but keep the decisions, creativity, and personality in your own hands. Use it to improve your workflow rather than replace it. At the end of the day, the most successful Vinted sellers won't necessarily be the ones who use the most AI. They'll be the ones who know when to use it, when to trust their own experience, and how to combine both to create the best possible buying experience for their customers.